Hi, everybody. Welcome to the YouTube channel of McRae's Window Cleaning. My name is Duncan. We're based right here in Brisbane, Australia. Well, we have a seven-part series on tips to help us grow personally, but also to how this will help us thrive in our business routine. So, what's in today's video? Stay tuned. Welcome back. Here we are, episode number 6 in our series Business Building Strategies. And what's our episode today about? Well, as we mentioned previously, we're going to discuss today avoiding burnout. Think about this. If you listen to your body when it whispers, you won't have to hear it scream. Interesting quote that I found. Now, what's the difference between burnout and stress? Are they the same? And how are they connected? Well, realistically, we need some stress in our life because it helps the adrenaline and gets us motivated. And so there can be some healthy stress. But what we're talking about here is unhealthy stress. And stress really is a case of too much, whereas burnout is not enough. So stress is over engagement, burnout is disengagement. Things have got too difficult. And so in the end, we just give it away. So, what does stress feel like to you? Well, for many, you know, when we're under a lot of pressure, we have a lot of responsibilities, demands on our times and resources. We can become very anxious, overwhelmed, and physically just exhausted. So, when we've got unrelenting stress like that coming on at us, it's very easy for it to lead to burnout. Now, burnout is when we get to the stage where there's nothing in the tank. We're empty. We're done. We're mentally and emotionally exhausted. We feel helpless because we don't feel like we can do anything about it. And for many people, it's the stepping stone to leading to depression. So, how do we avoid getting to that situation in business? We think, well, I've got to make money, I've got to care for the family, I've got all these responsibilities, I've got all these clients to care for, and we can start to get overwhelmed. Well, what's really helpful is just to stop and recognize that too much stress can lead down the path of burnout. We can then become so debilitated, so empty that aren't helpful to anybody. So we've got to start looking, stop and think, how can I prevent this from taking place? So what will help us lessen the stress? We can't eliminate it, but how can we lessen the stress and then minimize the risk of burnout? What do we need in our life? Yep, you got it. We need boundaries. Without boundaries, we can't set parameters for what we're going to do and not do. Because healthy boundaries are not just saying no to people. Healthy boundaries define how we'll show up for others and how we allow others to show up and do things for us. So let's think about two particular areas i- that will help us not get down the path where we're facing massive stress and we're staring burnout in the face. The first one is the challenge of not trying to please everybody, help everybody. And my wife found a very interesting quote on Pinterest. Sometimes you don't realize you're actually drowning when you're trying to be everyone else's anchor. Sometimes you don't realize you're actually drowning when you're trying to be everyone else's anchor. See, people pleasing doesn't help anybody. If we're trying to be there for everybody whenever they've got a problem or they've got work that need doing or we haven't set a boundary, this can exhaust us. And in time, we start to resent these people. Because realistically, unhappy people are never we can never please them. It's so difficult. And so we need to just realize that and set a boundary, learn to set the boundaries, and be able to then set a space that we're going to work with and be able to then not only care for ourselves, but maintain a healthy relationship. Now, it's really interesting. Sometimes because we battle with people pleasing, and some of this can go back to our childhood. So we have to recognize that. We're not attaching any blame, but that's just recognizing the reality of where it's come from. That doesn't mean that learned behavior is necessarily stuck with us the rest of our life. We can unlearn it. But here's the important thing that a therapist said in a book I've read. He said, rescuing people from natural consequences may delay them from learning a valuable lesson. Now, when you think about in business, you make mistakes when you first started. Yes. Did you learn from them? Absolutely. Did it help you grow? Yes. Are you grateful in a sense because you went through that experience? Mostly. But it's meant that we avoid those situations in the future. Now, if someone had all bailed us out back then and we didn't have the opportunity to grow and learn, would we still be making the mistakes today? Quite likely. So sometimes stepping back and not trying to rescue everybody, unless it's life threatening, it allows them to grow as people. They learn to experience problem solving skills and be able to develop as people. And we then release the stress on our shoulders. So that's an important thing to think about is avoiding the stress of always running after people and trying to please them, help them, bail them out of situations. And that can really assist us to be a lot calmer with our routine. Now, here's another area that can affect us where we can set a boundary and it can help us reduce the stress and avoid going down the path of burnout. And that is trying to do everything ourselves. And see, sometimes this is where having a perfectionist streak, can really let us down. It's my way or the highway sort of thing. I'm, I may as well do it myself because no one else can do it like me. Have you given them a chance to do it like you? You see, when others extend the help, it's so good to let them assist in their own way. We all know the saying there's more than one way to skin a cat. Why does our way have to be the only way to skin the cat? Sometimes, if people offer, it might be our employee, our subcontractor, have a different way of doing a particular job. If the job gets done, the customer is happy. Does it matter if they did it differently to us? No. See, we don't want to have to control everything that they do because that then adds pressure if they make mistakes. And then they're under pressure to perform for us rather than just be a happy subcontractor employee working away alongside us. It then develops a team mentality rather than we're the dominant, we know everything, we're going to dominate the situation. We then avoid some stress in our relationship with them and worrying why didn't they perform. So letting people use their own ingenuity, let them have the opportunity to shine. And if they make a mistake and they say, Duncan, this didn't seem to work, what do you think happened? We can then have an opportunity to share some observations. And that establishes a good relationship, good boundaries with that relationship that will enhance that. Now, I guess, in establishing all of this, thinking about all of that, why is it so difficult to set boundaries? Boundaries that we need to minimize the stress, lessen the stress on us, and thus avoiding burnout. Well, we can't set boundaries without being some sort of discomfort. So, like in the last episode, we talked about personal boundaries and establishing, what is our social media usage, our smartphone usage. And it can be uncomfortable to have to stop doing something, cutting something out. But then there's the discomfort of staying where you are. It's like when we talked about comfort zones. When you stay in your comfort zone, and potentially that comfort zone will, get smaller, there is discomfort. But then there's discomfort in stepping out and trying something new, doing something differently. And it's the same with setting boundary. Which discomfort do we want the most? You see, if by setting a boundary, we minimize stress, if there's some discomfort initially in doing that, but it has a benefit down the track, then it's worth going through that discomfort. But you think about if we do set those boundaries, then we will minimize the disappointment that we have to live with, the frustration, the resentment, the anger. Whereas if we don't set boundaries and we just carry on, that's only going to build and add to the stress and potentially debilitate us where we're empty, we're burnt out. So, is there something that you've done to try and lessen the pressure that you feel in business? Well, please share it with us because this is an important thing that no doubt other viewers will enjoy reading about. We're all struggling with this aspect of life. So, sharing some ideas will be very, very helpful. I'm sure you've benefited so far from this series that we've talked about. And please share it. I'd love you to share it with people that you know that you think might benefit it. We're not presenting these to um, make people feel bad about their situation. We know we're all under pressure and we want people to be energized, to be built up. And as we say in the description, we don't want to feel debilitated and tired. We want to be able to feel energized and motivated in what we do in business and in our personal life. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe and we look forward to you joining our network. If you'd like to contribute to the work we're doing here on YouTube, there's a link down in our description to Kofi, Kofi, and it's an opportunity for you to contribute to the work that we do through making a donation, which we call Buy Me a Coffee. So we look forward to that. In the meantime, uh, take care. In our next video, we're going to talk about play, making time for play. And all of these things are all being connected, this series of videos. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. So look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, you take care.